Hey, Chris Velasco with Engadget here. I just spent a little time with Apple's new HomePod and I wanted to talk to you about it, but I have to say this up front. This is not a review. I spent maybe an hour listening to the thing today, and we'll be putting together a full report once we spent some real-time testing one. So with that said, let's dive in. Setup is super simple, and it'll feel really familiar if you have AirPods. All you do is put your phone next to the speaker, and as long as you're running the latest version of iOS, the process takes about a minute, and then you're good to go. And then you start listening to things, and the HomePod's real value becomes clear. I've said it before, and it bears repeating. It sounds absolutely fantastic. We ran through a handful of test tracks, and each one of them sounded remarkably crisp and bright, and I have to say, the separation between all of the components of a song is really impressive. I wouldn't say it sounds like you're listening to it live, but it's a lot closer than you'd expect, and you can pick out details you might have missed in songs you thought you knew before. If you're used to the kind of audio you'd get out of, say, an Amazon Echo, the HomePod is going to sound like a revelation. That's mostly because the HomePod uses 7 tweeters and a 4-inch woofer to churn out that sound, and the bass in particular is really impressive. A jazz track that we tried sounded really rich and meaty, and every time the player plucked a bass note, it just sort of hung in the air really nicely. It's kind of like you're swimming in the bass. And since the HomePod adjusts the way it blasts out music depending on where it is and what's around it, I had the freedom to wander around the room, and the song sounded basically the same no matter where I was standing. So yeah, the HomePod sounds excellent. Audiophiles will find some bones to pick with it, but this is easily the best smart speaker I've listened to. And based on our limited time together, audio quality is the reason to consider buying a HomePod. That said, there are a few things to keep in mind. First off, the competition isn't that far behind. Sonos's new Play 1 gets very close in terms of quality sometimes, and for now, you can buy 2 of them for the price of 1 HomePod. And second, Apple Music is the only music service that the HomePod natively supports. If you're a Spotify person like me, you'll have to rely on an AirPlay connection, and that's not bad, but it's also just not ideal. I'd like to be able to talk to this thing and have it do everything. Unlike the last time I got up close and personal with a HomePod, Siri actually worked as intended. For better or worse, your feelings for Siri will ultimately make or break the HomePod for you. Apple's virtual assistant has been around for a long time, and in my experience, it works at least a little better than people give it credit for. Siri on the HomePod can take requests for songs, naturally, and play playlists to suit your moods. It'll even answer requests for more detail about the song or artist you're listening to. Smart speakers have to do more than just know about music though, and that's where Siri still feels kind of limited. You can ask it for a morning rundown of the news, and it works as a handy control station for your compatible smart home gizmos. The HomePod also works as an extension of your phone, so you can ask it to read messages you just received or start writing one to a friend. And this is important, if you're paranoid about having yet another intelligent microphone in your house, it's easy enough to get Siri to stop listening altogether. The thing is, we've gotten a bit spoiled by the wide variety of actions and skills available for competitors like Google Assistant and Alexa. Their head start in getting developers to build experiences around devices like the Echoes and the Google Home means Apple's first attempt at a smart speaker might not feel as complete or as thoughtful as rival machines, at least for now. But it does sound great, and that was clearly Apple's biggest concern. After listening to a HomePod, I don't know that I'd ever want to listen to music spilling out of an Amazon Echo ever again. The larger question is whether Siri will eventually grow to catch up with its AI rivals, and sadly, we still have to wait to find out.